Hey guys, it's Nico. In today's video, I'm going to be uncovering the real reason, the truth, as to why most charter businesses stay inconsistent, especially during the slower season. Now, I want to start off this video by prefacing and saying that if you have this solidified belief that tourism patterns, seasonal changes, and ultimately the weather is the reason as to why you can't make the profits you really want out of this business and why you struggle to grow it, then this video might not be for you, but I encourage you to stick along and see what my ideas are here because as I dive deeper into the topic of inconsistency and profitability within a charter business, I think, or at least I hope, that you'll have some things to learn from me. So without further ado, let's hop to the whiteboard and get started. So there's three main variables, I would say. There's more than three, but there's three main ones that most charter operators get wrong. And the first one is going to be demand. Now, this one's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, the generation of this demand, obviously people need to be coming into the business in order for anything to actually happen. And so, but the problem is what I see most operators doing is relying on a few methods that are really just either outdated or just never really worked in the first place. And the first one, the biggest one, the worst one in my opinion, is word of mouth. It really is good when it works, but the problem is it's not really scalable, it's not reliable. And so if you're only relying on people, other people telling other people to give you their money, sorry, you know what I'm trying to say, then that might not be the best method of acquiring customers, especially if that's the only one, but hopefully it's not. But another thing I see a lot of operators doing, not just relying on word of mouth, is obviously an overdependence on OTAs. I don't want to be the one to repeat everything you've already heard about these guys, but let's just point out the obvious here. The lower commissions you pay, the less of a chance you ever get a booking if you do, and the higher commission you pay, well, the higher commission you pay. And that's not even the worst things about these OTAs is the commissions, because you should be able to spare 15 to 20% of your product and still be profitable. If not, then you need to work on your pricing, but don't worry, I'll make a video on that in the future. It's actually just the consistency. That's what this video is all about here. Is these guys are very inconsistent. You don't actually know when you're ever going to get a booking from them, if you ever will. And then when the booking does come in, they kind of do take a nice chunk of your profit that you would rather have, I'm sure. And so if you're only relying on these guys to get business into the business, then that's not going to be a viable method to really grow the company. Now, the next one is, and this is a painful one because it involves the loss of money, would be ads. Or paid ads specifically. Obviously, there's some platforms that we can market our charter businesses on, but the problem is most operators I see don't have these configured properly, and it's due to a numerous amount of reasons, like the lack of time or knowledge or resources. But ultimately these can work, but I see a lot of charter operators getting these wrong, and it's simply just because they're not putting in the time and effort to actually learn how to do these and run them properly. They're just gathering some surface level information off the internet, putting a budget and their business name and some details into Google Ads, and then just hoping it works. And then when the intent is there, it might work a little, but then when it's not there, when the pool is smaller, they don't know how to tailor these and customize them and their demand generation methods according to the time of year. Therefore, these things don't align and they end up lacking a lot of demand in the business. But even when they do get past that demand stage, the second thing I see a lot of operators getting wrong here is their conversion system. So conversion meaning obviously interest isn't enough to get money into your pocket. That interest needs to be converted into a paid booking in the calendar. But the main and first thing I see wrong with most operators' conversion systems is their offer, specifically their offer being very unclear. Now, I can and I will make a whole video about offers for charter businesses because I really have a unique view on them, and I think it's one that could be highly profitable if understood by you owners out there. And that's really the basis of that principle or idea I have in my mind about offers, is that they should change constantly within a charter business, and they should really change depending on what the customer is actually looking for. Each individual one that comes into the business, meaning your offer should change after the customer comes in. They should probably be seeing a different offer online, but then what they actually get sold ends up being something different. Reason for that is because, as I'm sure you know, people don't actually care, or you should know at least, people don't care what boat you have, people don't care where you're located, they don't care where you guys go, how clear the water is, or even if dolphins are going to be jumping, believe it or not. What they actually are looking for is a good experience, all right? They want to know that after giving you a lot of money, that they're going to end up not regretting giving you that money, and they're going to actually have a time that they remember and think was worth having. But the thing with the charter business and selling experiences to people who haven't experienced what you have to experience yet, if that makes sense, is everyone's idea or definition of a good experience is different. So everyone's looking for something else, and you never exactly know what's going to make someone's perfect day. And so what you need to do in your conversion system, and what I see a lot of charter operators doing wrong here, is throwing the same offer and the same basic details and long paragraphs of lists of details about the charter, essentially, that people just skim over and don't ultimately care about, because like I just said, they're really just looking for a good experience. And so if you're just telling people the details of your charter and what kind of boat you ride and where you guys go and anything like that, you're really unclear with what you're offering to these people, because they've already seen all that everywhere on the internet. They really want to know how and why you're going to be the one for them and why they're going to have the best experience with you. But the only way you can really do that is if you understand how or what it is that the customer is actually looking for. And so that leads me to my second point here that most operators get wrong in the conversion system of the business, and that's going to be the structure of it. What I mean by structure is most operators don't actually have a structure written down or even in their head about what happens when interest is generated in the business and how to convert that interest into an actual paid charter on the calendar. Most charter operators are just taking phone calls and just start going on about the details of their charter and what's included and what's going to happen. And when text messages or any form of typing interest comes in, then the worst of them all are sending long paragraphs with bullet points about the details, like I was saying earlier, things that people just don't actually care about. What I mean by having structure, or a good idea of, or a decent flow of structure in a conversion system, in my opinion, is getting a good understanding of what the person wants after they come into the business, not just before. So if there's ways before they come into the business to find out things about what they're looking for, like forms on websites or things that are before the booking, if that makes sense, then that's a great way to have structure in a conversion system. But then once they do come in, whether they reach out through a phone call or a form on your website, or they just commented on a post you made online, for example, they took the action you wanted them to generate interest, then you need to have a clear pathway. Essentially, most operators will have is no direction. You need to have direction of where that customer or what that customer needs to do in order to become a paid booking on your calendar. But that's not just reading them off a bunch of details and hoping that they give you the money. It's understanding what they want and then making sure that they understand that you can give them what they want. Exactly that, nothing less. And my third point here is going to be follow-up. Now, contrary to popular belief, follow-ups are actually quite important within a charter business, and I know that's contrary to popular belief in the industry, but you have to understand that people aren't going to look at you like a bad business owner or pushy or salesy by following up with them. You also have to understand that people really just are busy, and especially in this industry where most people aren't from the area when they're booking with you, or even if they are and you're selling to locals, which you can definitely do, they're also busy and have lives, so you have to totally understand that people miss things, people forget about things. It's human nature, and because you haven't given them a really good experience and they don't have a strong emotional attachment to you, it's very likely that people will just leave you on red because you mean nothing to them at the moment. But they won't look at you like a bad person or salesy. Some people might, in which case it's totally fine. No one's going to go and leave a bad review for you because you were following up with them, I promise. And the real problem is that most operators just have no follow-up. But when you do follow up, just make sure that you have them very personalized and you're not sending like copy-paste template, hey there, are you still interested in a boat tour? Or, even, hey, name, are you still interested in this charter? Like, you want to put your little own spin on them. And I'll make a video on follow-ups for charters in the near future. But just for now, know to be consistent with them. Follow up with anyone who doesn't reply to you or give you a final decision. If they tell you they need to check in with their group, I mean, how many times has that happened and they never did, or they never got back to you? Tell them that's totally all right. I'll hold that spot for you tentatively while you go and check with the group. Just let me know what they decide. And then if they don't give you a decision within, depending on how far in advance they're booking, you can use your judgment on when's the right time to follow up. But it should be sooner than later, probably sooner than you think, to get a decision from them finally. And people won't get upset about that. People, in fact, a lot of people will be excited that you're excited to help them and get them a great experience on the water. And so don't be afraid to follow up. Don't do none of it. Make sure you just have some personalized and consistent follow-ups, all right? You can't just follow up once with people, okay? There should be at least 3 to 4, sometimes upwards of, 7 to 8 follow-ups on an engaged customer or an engaged potential customer for the charter business. Now, how far you want to go with that is completely up to you, but you shouldn't be afraid to follow up with people until they give you a final decision. So long as you do it in a personalized and nice way, of course. So yeah, these three things right here, follow-up, conversion, and the demand that's generated, are the three key variables that most charter operators get wrong, and that's the reason for most of the inconsistency and lack of profit within the business. If you can get these three variables to align and have various source of demand generation methods, which I'll make a video on in the future, have a strong and solidified conversion system for the demand that gets generated on, which I'll make more videos on in the future, of course, have a dominant, consistent, and precise follow-up sequence for every potential customer that comes into the business, which I'll also make a video on in the future for, then you'll see massive amounts of success and improvement within your business, and most importantly, the consistency of it. No one wants to have their head just bobbing above the water with this charter business. I know everyone says that you can't make money with the charter business, you can just maybe get your boat to pay off itself and have fun on the water while you do it, but that's not the case. I know you can look around, find someone that has made a lot of money with the charter business, and if you can't, then just know that it's possible. You just have to have the right systems and get certain variables to align. A little more than these three, but just fixing these three or making improvements on them will show in your business. So I know I really just diagnosed a problem here and haven't provided any solution, but don't worry, those solutions will be coming soon in later videos. So hope you know what the problem is for now, and you can at least find some ways to work on some of them. And till then, talk soon. Take care.